I've really started talking about this solution as sort of a data help desk solution. So, a lot of times people struggle with how to position a tool like this. And, is it a documentation tool? Is it a, workflow tool? Is it, is it something else? And I think the easiest way to think about this and how it gets implemented, how it would roll out, how you get use and adoption within your organization is similar to how you might decide to roll out a help desk solution, like for IT help desk or something else, and how you get your experts and content into that tool, and how you get people to engage with it. So the idea here is that people will be looking for information or answers or reporting issues or challenges with your data, to better use your data through better data literacy or understanding policy or understanding sort of the technical details or all sorts of things we'll talk about. And they can come to this knowledge base and search for that information. And if they find that answer, great. If they can't find that answer, they can essentially submit a request, and that can get routed to, either directly to the right person to help them, or to some sort of first tier support person or someone who can take that and then go find that expert and get the help for them. And you can continue building up this knowledge base over time for all your curated activity. There's also, of course, a lot of automated things that don't require curation that you can get into. So, all right. So what is this? It's a software as a service application. It's hosted in the cloud. It's you sort of flip the switch and you get an instance for your account that's a repository for all of your information. It's what we're calling data intelligence, which is essentially the combination of a data governance framework, which is all the human curation activities around your data, your stewardship, your decision makers, your experts, your approvers and reviewers, and things like that, of various types of data content. And then actually the metadata or data intelligence content or data catalog information within there, which covers a whole wide range of areas. As a solution, we license it on an annual subscription, and you get unlimited users with single sign-on. And when I say unlimited users, we mean unlimited users. It can be admins and stewards and viewers and approvers and whatever. So, we've really designed this solution and want the solution to be used. So, that we don't want anyone sitting here and they've been using it for a while and saying, "Oh, we really want to bring in Joe as a steward, but we're out of seats. We've only got 20 licenses, all right, 20 users are allowed." Like, that doesn't seem like the way that you want a knowledge base to work. You want something that anyone can react to and you can bring in any way, shape, or form. So that's a big feature. It's the same thing with content. You can put in unlimited content. We're not charging you per data system or reporting tool or numbers of reports or whatever. Again, we want people to use it. If someone has so much data governance content in this system that they're making me regret that feature, I'm still not going to regret it. That's what we want people to do. So we really encourage that, and it makes it sort of easier for people, I think, to just start using this and letting it grow, and all of this sort of an affordable price. All right, so when we talk about, let's first talk about data governance framework, and then we'll talk about sort of what the different content is, and then we'll talk about the architecture in a little bit more detail, and then, as I said, after that we'll hop into the cookbook itself. But when we talk about the framework, as just general best practices for the human curation activity around your data, first of all, just having a centralized knowledge base, sort of a single point of entry for searching through the different types of content is important. And not all content needs to be in there, but it's a good starting point for anything. So if people are looking for information around your data, they can find it directly in this knowledge base, or find a link out to where it should be. And it's something that will grow organically and change over time. Obviously, then you have that framework, then we made the repository itself. Then you've got the people, so your various roles that are participating in the governance activity. And this includes your sort of steward type roles. It might also be things like trustees or data owners, or however you want to describe those things. And these are your actual doers of data governance. So they're subject matter experts and decision makers that are writing definitions, or resolving data quality issues, or building reports and documenting them, or curating reports, or doing all sorts of things like that, or doing policy reviews, any kinds of activities like that. And then you also have sort of your oversight people, so your folks that are facilitating those stewards and maybe doing reviews or support of them, and checking that things are not stuck in the workflow, as well as sort of admin of the process. Or one thing that we suggest, and there's another best practices session on this, about this like customer service or data help desk approach, which really focuses on this idea of having like a first tier or like data advisor or triage role to serve when you don't have all your data stewards associated, where they can sort of, things can get routed to them and then they can go find the right stewards. But the tool is designed to support all of these, whatever kind of roles and however you set that up to manage those and have people come and go from those roles. So you got the repository, you got the people, now you need kind of processes. So there's sort of 3 key areas. We'll start from the bottom actually. First is the automated and integrated content. So the things that don't require, pulling information out of someone's brain and putting it on in the system. So this might be, ingesting the data models from various data systems, running data quality monitoring processes, synchronizing like reference data lists from those systems, or importing metadata content from other areas, or importing report specifications and things like that, report catalog details. So any kind of bulk content imports and synchronization is a feature there. Additionally, you want to think about how people who are trying to engage with this content because they have questions, they're either report data requesters or data consumers, or even report writers and things like that, who are looking for information around their data, and if you think about points of engagements for searching for answers and finding and discovering those answers, or referencing those that information. And if then they can't find that, requesting. So, hey, I was looking at this old report. I don't know what it means or what the purpose of it. Is it a good report? Is it a certified report? Should I use it or not? If it hasn't been kind of curated yet, then they might find the existence of the report, but have a bunch of questions on it. So then they can submit a request to have that report curated. So that's one of the types of requests that you can have. That then goes to this next thing around, these workflows and processes for content creation or curation and support that gets route those questions to the right stewards or the right experts. So considering like, oh, this is a human resources report in our data, out of our data warehouse that's using Tableau, and those kind of and the curation, a report curation request of all those attributes might say, oh, we're going to go to this particular type of steward or this sets of stewards. That's the workflow process. So this is, again, kind of the framework that you apply across all the content. And this is what we call this help desk approach, this having these points of engagement for people to search and reference. But if they can't find what they're looking for, to request, and then have that human curation activity really get prioritized and executed in a just-in-time basis as people need it. So automate what you can, document some critical stuff or curate some critical stuff, and then have good ways for people to have workflows to request what they need and get that out. All right, so what are we talking about when we talk about the actual content for this? So we'll go into these in more detail in the products. I'm going to go through them relatively quickly here, but what's important to know is that if you're in a room of a dozen people and you say we're doing a data governance initiative, you might get people who walk away from that meeting saying a dozen different interpretations of what that means. So, oh, we're going to do a business glossary. Oh, we're going to track my reference data. We're going to deal with my data quality issues. We're going to deal with my policy problems. And so coming up with understanding like the different types of metadata content or data catalog content that you can have around your data is important. So we're at the core kind of big 3 are having a data system catalog where you're actually high-level inventory of all your different data systems, and then the actual technical data model information, your tables, your columns, and all that kind of stuff documented in there. Then having a business glossary, which is your sort of functional first list of items, that describes what is an active employee or customer engagement or whatever that might be, and how that functionally is defined, but also how that links back over to, for various relevant data systems, the actual data model objects used to find that. So these 2 things are connected. And this is what you might, in its combination, call a data dictionary. Again, a lot of times we get people who say, I'm looking for a data dictionary, and that could be, some people might really be looking for both of these, but sometimes people they think like, oh, I'm approaching things technically, and they're looking for a describe of the database sort of, and then people who are approaching it functionally. And this is really something that brings those 2 things together, having a glossary repository, like a semantic layer, and then the actual technical layer down here. The report catalog is exactly what it sounds for it like. It's an inventory or documentation of all the reports that you have, but also an area where you can add additional curation on it. So you can talk about the usability of the report, the purpose of it, who owns it, how do you get access to it, and even more importantly, kind of connecting the data to it over to glossary terms. So you say, oh, this report includes a thing called, active customer, and is that field called active customer in the report actually using the definition that we agree on? If so, let's connect it to that glossary term. And it can also be used to design and specify new reports too. So, similarly, there's what we call the data flow catalog, which is the same sort of thing. It's documenting data processes, but rather than taking information from a data system to a informational output, it's taking data from a source data system to a target data system and moving that around. And that's where you can track those different processes and get the lineage that goes on between that. So you're either documenting ETLs or APIs or kind of informational mappings and things like that. Let's look at reference data. This is your lookup values, your code values, your valid values, what they kind of mean to you conceptually within your organization. We have a master list of employee statuses or product codes or something of that nature. And then you can say, and based on various data systems, what are those values and how they map together? And you can do monitoring of those. Data quality, I always say that when I get to this, it's a thing that we could spend an hour and a half on, and I encourage you to look at some of our webinars on this. But we're sort of focused on capturing issues, things that are creating lack of trust, lack of use in your system, and not just sort of referential integrity following the rules of the database, but also very much like contextual things, and how to document those issues even if they're not going to be enforced by the database. So you can have data quality rules that are more complicated. Birth date is required if they are a student, but not if they are a prospect or something, right? So, but birth date might live in a person table, so it's not required. But so you only need that rule if it's contextually. So how do you, basically let people report rules, report issues, do issue resolution, define rules, assess those rules against various data systems, and then set up automatic monitoring and automatic issue resolution moving forward. Data ownership, as I already mentioned, it's about sort of defining your different functional domains, your different tools, your different data systems, different types of content and requests, and then understanding how to route those requests to the right stewards or experts for who is either the person who would take action on that, or even the higher level accountability role, the person who helps us decide who takes action on it. Policy attributes is the big feature here. So this is when you're trying to understand, hey, we've got policy rules around data retention or data privacy or security. So defining those rules, defining what those attributes are, different privacy codes, all those things, and understanding what those are is step one. Step two, though, and the more practical thing, is now going and associating those things to glossary terms and data systems and data model objects and reports and things like that, so that you can actually have people act on those policies. Change management, everything in here is versioned, right? So it goes through, definitions change, data systems are modified and new releases come out, reports get changed. And so keeping track of those changes and approving them, rejecting them, showing the changes, but also having impact. So if I've got a report that's a list of employees by employee status and the definition of employee status change, I want to know that that report needs to be looked at. So that's something that having everything in one system helps with. Be able to see that history. Lastly, I have this concept of data requests here. So that's anything that's coming in, like a data quality issue or a new definition or a new report or just a generic request, like I need a access to a system where I have a question on X, Y, and Z. You can sort of route any request through that same workflow process. You also might have some of this content like glossary definitions or report or survey definitions or data submission standards or things like that that are your own definitions, but also the things that might be coming from the community, like your regulatory organizations or consortial definitions or vendor definitions or just general data standards things, and being able to understand that and identify what the source of definitions are and how that might match or not match your own definitions and or own specifications for things.